Just listening to the show here at the end, I would say, Andrew, what really strikes me is a couple of points. One is how these companies are going to be doing so many cost controls that the analyst from BlackRock was making. And the other is your DocuSign story, the massive and accelerated digitization of the economy that's going to come out of this pandemic. And, you put those two things together and you get then to Jason's point about, an acceleration, but that is the second derivative is going to be much slower. It's going to be very interesting about how this pandemic and the response to it combines with this trend toward massive digitization of the economy and where then that nets out on the labor force.
Was there anything that you learned in your conversation with President-elect Biden that you think speaks to this issue and how he's going to govern?
Well, I think the main thing is just talking to him is talking to a stable, rational person where everything isn't self-referential, frankly. And I think the most important thing that comes out of it is he's going to be guided by the science and scientists, by the laws of physics, and not on this question, more than anything else. And that's why he said yesterday he's for masks, for the first 100 days of his administration, because. To me, the central point has always been we set up this crazy debate that it was masks or jobs, masks or school, masks or football, and it never should have been that. It should have been masks for school, masks for restaurant, masks for jobs. And if people want to, and as you know, we talked about this. I was very early on saying we have to balance lives and livelihoods here, folks. But to do that, you want to do it in the most rational way. And that's by taking the maximum precaution. If people want to go into restaurants, and Lord knows, I understand why a small business owner wants to open up, then mandate that you have to wear a mask. You've got to bow to the science. And the hardest thing of this whole crisis in the very beginning is we're up against Mother Nature. We haven't been up against her, all of us together this way. And she is relentless. She's just chemistry, biology, and physics. You and I and Rick Santelli and whoever, we can feel whatever we want. She doesn't care. She's going to do whatever she's going to do, and she's going to be relentless about it.
Here's the question I have. Given what Mother Nature is going to do, where do you stand on stimulus, and where do you stand on effectively, potentially protecting or providing subsidization to businesses that may not have a business when this is all over, given some of the trends that you've been focused on and watching? We've been looking at AMC, for example, movie theaters, and what's happening now with Warner Media putting out all their big movies. It may not be a business when this is over, and that may – what do you do?
Well, I think you got to err on the side of generosity, and there's a certain basic fairness thing. For some people, the stimulus is going to be a bridge to the future. And the resurgence of their business. For others, it may be a glide path to the cemetery of the business, not the person. And but at this stage in the crisis, on the basis of fairness and just, I think, compassion, I vote on the side of the stimulus.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.